yo, it's your boy J Best, and welcome back to the Straight to the Point podcast, season 3, episode 4. On today's episode, I'm gonna bring my boy Tyrell up here to talk about his New Orleans Saints and how the Saints went marching into Dallas and then beat the brakes out of the Cowboys. And he gonna tell me, is the New Orleans Saints legit? All right. And then following that, my little brother Jerrick's gonna come on and we're gonna discuss breaking news a couple days ago, Bryce Young being benched. All right, we're gonna discuss that situation. Then in Pittsburgh, should the Steelers start Russell Wilson when he come back off an injury, or should they keep Justin Fields? All right, we already know what Ben Roethlisberger said about it. And then to end this episode, we're going to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, and is it time to be worried in Philly? All right. But before we get into any of that, as always, I want to thank God for waking me up this morning, allow me to talk about sports, which is something that I love to do. And without him, I would not be here right now. So let's go ahead and let's get straight to the point. All right, Josh. So last week, right, when I was picking the Cowboys and the Saints, I actually changed my pick mid-pick, right? First, I was leaning towards the Cowboys a little bit, slightly, but then I changed it to the Saints. And look, I posted that video on TikTok and Instagram, got a lot of love, all right? People say I know what I'm talking about, but don't say it to me. Y'all need to say it to my boy Real, because I made a great decision last week, right? But this man told y'all preseason that this offense was going to be explosive. This man told y'all that Derek Carr might win MVP this year. He tried to tell y'all, I ain't gonna lie, he told me, and I scratched my head just a little bit, but he was, as of right now, he was right. So you know what, Rail, the floor is yours. I'm gonna sit back and let you tell us, bro, what happened against the Cowboys?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I just want to start off by saying this. This is how we always do. Thank God. First, all love to God, all glory to God.
All of this.
But I just want to say it's only week 3. We've only had 2 games so far. We still got 15 more games to go. But just like I've been preaching since the post Drew Brees era in 2021, all we need is a top 15, top 20 offense. That's all we needed. That's all we needed. And I feel like last year I was telling you multiple times we had a terrible offensive coordinator. He wasn't drawing up any good plays. He was just doing the same thing. It was really repetitive. I knew what we were doing before the defense knew what we were doing. You know what I'm saying? Everybody knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
But just like you said, my 2 bold predictions looking real good. Derek Carr winning MVP so far throughout week 3. It's looking like he will. And then we got Clint Kubiak. Remember I said I think he'll be a head coach next year. That's how good I think he'll do this year, that he'll be a head coach next year. And so far, he's playing really, really good. But I just want to say this about Sunday. So a lot of people think, oh, we're just better than the Cowboys. Like, we just had better players. Or I was seeing a lot of things. But if you really, really look, like really, really look, the Cowboys just got completely schemed out of the game. Completely. I'm sure you can agree to this. Dak Prescott played pretty good. But on the stat sheet, it said he had 2 INTs. He played pretty good, though, right?
Yeah, not average, yeah.
So I'm gonna tell you this. For the most part, every time Dallas touched the ball, they got into their past their 50. They got into their red zone. They just were forced to kick 3. Kicking 3 and 3 compared to another team scoring 7 plus 7 plus 7. It really adds up. Then
Yeah.
it got to a point to where Dak had to throw, and we knew exactly what they were doing. And Clint Kubiak, like I said, he schemed Dallas out the game. So the best players on Dallas defense is Trayvon Diggs, Michael Parsons, and Demarcus Lawrence, right?
Yep.
What did you hear about those 3 players on Sunday?
Nobody. I ain't know Michael Parsons played. I didn't even know.
If I didn't watch football, I would not have known those were superstar players at all. And to be honest, like looking at that game, a lot of people who don't know football would be like, the Saints offensive line is better than the Cowboys defensive line. That's not the case at all. Clint Kubiak, he's one of the smartest offensive coordinators in the league. He realized Dallas's strong point is the pass rush. DeMarcus Lawrence, Michael Parsons to shut them down. You know what he did all game? He was throwing screens, quick screens to Alvin Kamara, quick screens to Shaheed, jet sweeps to Chris Olave, jet sweeps to everybody. Taysom Hill up the middle, Alvin Kamara, crack block, toss. It was a lot. On 3rd and 5, we were running right up the middle. It caught them off guard a lot. We didn't allow them to really rush the passer. The only time I can remember giving them a chance to rush the passer is when we dropped back a couple of times. And every time we dropped back, we blocked 8, we blocked 7. We gave a max protection. And Dallas had like 29 pressures last week. They had 6 sacks on Deshaun Watson. If you turn back on the film yesterday, The Saints gave up 1 sack and had 6 pressures. So I think the game ball 100% goes out to Clint Kubiak, just taking DeMarcus Lawrence and Michael Parsons out the game. He even took Trayvon Diggs out the game. It was crazy.
Yeah, I look going into this game. I called it right. I picked the Saints, but I didn't think y'all was gonna do this to the Cowboys. Right? It's not even me thinking that the Cowboys are all that. 'Cause I think they some frauds. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't think they as good as people think. But y'all looked way better than I thought y'all would look. Because the first game of the season, right? We talked about it. I talked about it. It was against the Panthers. So it's kind of hard to judge y'all. Okay, is the Panthers really that bad, or is the Saints really that good, right? And then this week, I'll go into Jerry's world
Into
in Dallas, and y'all took over. And it wasn't even a game, right? From the jump, first 3 drives, y'all put 7 on the board, right? Just that quick. And it wasn't like y'all was like some plays was chunk plays. It wasn't just y'all just walking down the field every time. It was chunk plays. It was big plays. And like you said, against Cleveland, they was able to get pressure on Deshaun, for one. And for two, whenever you sack the box against Cleveland, you're not worried about Deshaun throwing the ball in the air. He just not right now. Because for some reason, Deshaun is just not the same. I don't know what happened to him, but he's not the same. But against y'all, I said they can't stack the box because y'all can put the ball over their head. Y'all got Chris Olave, y'all got Rashid Shaheed, and then Derek Carr can put the ball in the air. And best believe y'all play action that thing, and Derek Carr threw that bomb to Shaheed, right? So that game, it wasn't even a game. It just wasn't. And like you said, when Dak Prescott has to put the cape on, it has to drop back and pass every time. He makes mistakes. It happens. That's the kind of quarterback he is. That's the kind of quarterback that Dallas made the highest paid player in history. He can't do that. He just can't. So hey, look, y'all went into Dallas. Y'all marched all over. All right. And then now I gotta ask you this question real quick. It's been 2 weeks. So you don't want to overreact. But Tyrell, are your Saints legit? Is this legit or is this just beginner's luck? If you know what I mean.
as you just said, it's only week 3. You know, we still got a long, long season to go. Injuries happen and all that, but I truly, truly believe like the schemes that we're running, Clint Kubiak, it's just like it's too much going on. It's like emotion going this way. Then you're worried about the running back going this way. You're worried about Taysom Hill going this way. It's like Shaheed's over here, Chris Olave is over here, Alvin Kamara is lined up. Wait, like, did you see the play in the game? We're gonna put it right here. Derek Carr motions out. We call it a wildcat to Taysom Hill, and he just runs it all the way to the left. You
Yep.
know, that was on the 3rd down. That type of stuff, it will throw you off. I think if he could continue calling plays like this, and our defense is going to hold it down. Our defense has been top 5 every year.
Every year. Every year.
As long as I can remember, I know the defense is going to hold it down. Just tell the offense to be top 15. And if they continue being top 3, top 2 like they are, man, we will be talking about this in New Orleans, Super Bowl Sunday. It's going down. It's going down in New Orleans. Come on, who that, baby? We that. We that. Yeah.
Hey, look.
Why would you ask me that? Why would you ask me that?
So it's an obvious yes. So y'all are legit. What you
Obvious
tell me.
yes. I just had to give you a humble answer. It's an obvious yes.
I got you. And look, I can't even say you being biased right now because what I'm seeing looks good. It looks good. So I'm not even gonna sit here and say you being biased because if we like today, if we just said who has been the best team through 2 weeks, it's y'all by a mile. Like by a mile. It's not like y'all and the Chiefs and this team. It's y'all 100%. And bro, y'all been averaging 45.5 points per game to start this year out. I don't think y'all can keep that up. I definitely don't think that's gonna happen. But like you said, y'all defense has been top 5 every year. That's one thing you don't have to worry about with New Orleans. Their defense is gonna come to play every single year, every single game. Right? Like I know for the longest, the word on the street is you can't run the ball against New Orleans because you can't. Y'all run defense has always been dominant, right? So the problem the problem was last year y'all offense just looked so bad, right? And it wasn't like y'all was getting blown out. Y'all just couldn't score. So teams was beating y'all. So if y'all can, like I said, you're not gonna average 45.5 points per game, but if y'all can stay close to this number, it's gonna be very hard for teams to beat y'all. Isn't it extremely hard? And like Clint Kubiak in that offense, Alvin Kamara looks like Christian McCaffrey in the Kyle Shanahan offense. That's what he looks like. Like that's the effect. And when you think about the Kyle Shanahan offense, think about it. You got a quarterback that you don't think is that elite, but he's not bad at all, right? Derek Carr. He's not that elite, but he's not bad at all, right? Then in the running back position, you have Christian McCaffrey. You also have Alvin Kamara, right? When Alvin Kamara has a good offensive line and a good offensive coordinator, he's gonna put up the numbers that he's been putting up, right? At the receiver position, actually they have a gadget guy in Deebo Samuel. Y'all got a gadget guy in Taysom Hill, who, like you said, gonna take them direct snaps and run it, right? Y'all can also toss it to him, he'll pass the ball, or he'll line up at tight end. He's your gadget guy. They got Brandon Ayuk. Y'all got Chris Olave. And to be honest with you, I think Olave better than Ayuk. I ain't gonna lie to you. For real. And then y'all also have Reed Shaheed, right? So the offense is there, right? It's just a matter of, can y'all keep it up? Y'all keep it up, bro. It it's gonna be hard to beat y'all for real. I ain't gonna go out there and say y'all about to win the Super Bowl or nothing like that. I ain't gonna do all that yet. Not yet. But keep showing me this, and look, y'all got a nice little, it's not a test, but y'all get to play an Eagles team that a lot of people said was well, not a lot of people, but people view them as Super Bowl contenders, right? If y'all do to them what y'all just did to Dallas, oh yeah, y'all gonna be the headliner at every single sports channel. I promise you that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, but that's it with me and Rel, man. We about to head over to me and Jerrick to talk about a couple more things. Appreciate you, Rel, for coming.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm blessed to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
Is there who that, huh?
Who that? We that. Who that? We that. We that. Come on, man.
All right, y'all. I got Jerrick here now to talk about what just happened on Monday. The Panthers released a statement saying that Bryce Young is now benched and Andy Dalton will be the starter for the foreseeable future. All right, so me and Jerrick are here to discuss, is Bryce Young a bust? And not only that, but just discuss the situation at hand.
I don't. My thing is, I don't think you can classify him as a bust yet. I think when we classify people as busts, like people say, just for example, like Trevor Lawrence, or even people might say, like when people said Jamarcus Russell was a bust, it was after he had a couple of years to show he was a bust. Bryce Young had 1 year. Bryce Young, if we really look at it, I don't even think he played all the games last year. If he did, I might be wrong. And then he played 2 games this year. I don't think we can. I don't think we've seen him enough to classify him as a bust. I just don't think so. I think busts are people who they play out their rookie contract and they don't have the success and they don't live up to the standard that they live up to. Look at Baker Mayfield. When Baker Mayfield was in Cleveland, Baker Mayfield had more than a season and 2 games before people started calling him a bust. They started calling him a bust year 3, year 4. It takes time for you to deem people as, but you can't just claim somebody to be a bust after 1 season and then 2 games. That's not enough time. It's just not. Bryce Young last year he threw for 2,877 yards and 11 touchdowns. That's not good. It's not. I will admit it. That's not good. It's not, and it's not good in general. You being a rookie, we cut you some slack, we give you some grace, especially when your offensive line gave up 65 sacks. So you're playing under a bad offensive behind a bad offensive line, and then you didn't really have a wide receiver one to help you transfer. Some quarterbacks come from college and come to the league, and they have a wide receiver one they can depend on, a favorite target they can depend on to really help them with their transition. His best receiver last year is Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen is he's a solid receiver, but Adam Thielen, he's no wide receiver one. If we want to look at it, he's no wide receiver one. He's just not. So I really don't think that it's fair to Bryce Young to deem him a bust. Like look at Jaden Daniels this year. He's coming in. He has Terry McLaurin. Scary Terry's a nice receiver, nice number one that Jaden Daniels should be able to depend on to help him transfer. JJ McCarthy, before he got hurt, when he was gonna be that starting quarterback, he had the best wide receiver in all of football to come in to help him out with his transition. We gave Bryce Young, Adam Thielen, and Miles Sanders in the backfield and said, hey, go play football with a better offensive line. I don't think that's fair to deem him a bust. And he was the number 1 pick. And if you look at the number 2 pick last year, CJ Stroud threw for 4,108 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. So he threw 5 less interceptions than Bryce Young. He threw 12 more touchdowns and then obviously a lot more yards. But then that's when you look at his offensive line. If you look at his offensive line only let up 47 sacks. 18 less sacks than what the Panthers did. So I don't think it's fair to deem Bryce Young a bust yet. Had he played out this season and then went nowhere, and then maybe middle of next year, no progress, then maybe yes, you can call him a bust. But for after a season and 2 games to call him a bust, I can't get behind that. I don't think that's fair to Bryce, and I don't think that's fair to rookie quarterbacks for the fact that now they have a standard of, okay, after a season, if you're not where you're supposed to be, you're a bust. I don't agree with that at all. I don't think he's a bust.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think he's a bust either. I think that the way we look at quarterbacks have been changed because of C.J. Stroud. Right? C.J. Stroud came in his very first year, went to a place with nothing, and turned him into a playoff team his first year. So now everyone kind of has that expectation. Well, we should, right? Just in general, a lot of people think that a really good quarterback, if you get a really good quarterback, he'll show you that in the first year. They don't believe in development anymore. They don't believe that, okay, I'm gonna give you this year to show me something, and then next year it's still your team. That's the mindset right now, the Panthers. Right? Bryce didn't show a lot last year, so now they're saying, look, bro, we basically it seemed like they done with him. That's what it seems like. And I think, like I said, CJ Stroud has messed up how we look at rookie quarterbacks. Because me personally, it depends on the situation you're coming into. Because 9 times out of 10, if you go number 1, you're going to a bad team, right? Bryce went number 1 and went to a Panthers team last year. I can't name one player on that offense that I'm afraid of, that I'm game planning for every single week. I just can't. And his O line is not that good either. And also you have nothing taking the pressure off him in the run game. You have Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders, right? I'm not going into any game saying, "Oh, we got to stop those two." No, because they're average running backs, maybe below average running backs. So to me, Bryce is not in a situation where I say, you know what, you should be successful in that situation. Even this year with adding Deontay Johnson and drafting Xavier Leggett, I still don't look at this offense and say, Bryce, you should be successful in this offense. Now, he hasn't looked good. I've seen him miss passes, right? He's missed reads, right? But that's going to happen. But the fact that you are in a very bad situation, it makes you look worse. So if he was playing for a really good team and looking really bad, he wouldn't look this bad. But because he's playing in a bad situation and he looks bad, it's like that times 2, right? And then I think it's also not just how we view and how everybody view quarterbacks now, but it's also the new head coach, Dave Canales, who came from Tampa Bay, right? He kind of transformed Baker Mayfield last year into a nice quarterback, honestly. He played pretty good last year. So they hired him and they gave him a 6-year contract. Mind you, if you give a coach a 6-year contract, that means that you trust him with your team for the foreseeable future, right? It's not a short leash; it's a pretty long leash. So Dave is looking at the head coach now is looking at it like, look, you gave me this 6-year contract. I didn't draft Bryce Young, right? So I need to do what's best for me in my contract. I need to show you that I want to make this team win like now. He basically saying he wants to win games now. That's what benching Bryce Young means. He thinks that he has a better chance of winning games with Andy Dalton versus developing Bryce Young. Because if it was me, we're not winning nothing this year. Period. So I'm keeping Bryce Young in there to keep growing. Hopefully he can keep growing, and then next year we'll see the real Bryce Young. But for you to take him out, that means that you want to prove that you're ready to win games now in Carolina. When, to be honest with you, Andy Dalton's not going to change nothing. It might look worse, in my honest opinion, because Andy's old and washed. So if Andy go in there, and that's one thing, if Andy goes in there and they start winning games or the offense look different, then we can look at Bryce Young and say, okay, bro, you was tripping. But I don't see Andy Dalton going in there and change this offense around because I don't think it's a lot to use. Right? Xavier Leggett, we got to give him a chance to grow. Our receivers don't come into the league just hooping the first year. Right? So, and it's hard for him to grow whenever Bryce Young's still growing too. So, it basically, the moral of the story is it's a growing process. And the Panthers should be willing to go through that process because you're not supposed to win it. Nobody expected the Panthers to win anything this year. We expect them to be a bottom 5 team, which means there's no pressure, which means you go out there and you find the spark in Bryce. For this to be a brand new head coach, mind you, he only spent one training camp with them, so one off season with them, and then 2 games with them, and just gave up on him. Right, so I don't respect it because, in my opinion, y'all should be just developing that chemistry, that relationship. You should be helping. If you're really that good at your job, you should be helping him get better every single week. But putting Andy Dalton in there, to me, it's like Dave feel like, oh, we gotta start winning games. What you worried about? He gave you a 6-year contract for a reason. This is a rebuilding process, and I feel like they're messing up the process whenever you take out Bryce Young. Because now I feel like it's a mental thing for Bryce. Right, that could have destroyed his mental. I don't know how he's gonna react to this. So I don't think, to answer the question, he's not a bust because I do not. There's not one last year or this year. I'm not looking at like you should be successful in that offense. I'm not, and I think the Panthers have time for him to continue to grow. But I do think that he was worth the #1 pick. Like C.J. Stroud was good last year, but I don't think nobody saw that coming. Nobody. Like we thought CJ was going to be good in the NFL, but not as good as he was last year. If we would have known that, they would have drafted CJ first. But Bryce showed that he had that talent in college, and I think he's going to be all right. I don't know how his future going to look. Are you going to go back to him, or is a team going to go reach out for him? I'm not sure. But to answer the question, I do not think he's a bust. All right. Let's. Oh, you got something to say?
I think his days in Carolina are over for sure, though. I honestly do. I think that, and I think it would be best for both of them because, like you said, their head coach after 2 games, you're ready to drop him. Obviously, that's not your quarterback. That's not your guy that you want. You want to handpick your guy, and so you want to go get and that's fine. That's okay. Now for Bryce, I think he needs to get out of there. It's almost like Baker Mayfield, just with less time. Go somewhere like when Baker Mayfield went to the Rams, we immediately saw a different Baker Mayfield. Because Baker Mayfield, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say he went to Carolina that year.
He did.
He went to Carolina and then he went to the Rams and played that very first day after being there like 2 days. And we saw immediate change. And then they played the Seahawks Thursday Night Football. And it was a different Baker. And he played a couple more games and it was a different Baker. And then Tampa Bay took a chance on him with the right weapons and the right system. And he got to go. So I think if he can get out of Carolina, like I like to see, honestly, with Tua being out, if I'm Mike Daniel, I'm calling down there to Carolina and I'm saying, let me get Bryce Young. Because Tua, we don't know his future. He might come back, he might not. And I think that in that type of offense, he simplified the game for Tua. I don't think the Panthers have tried to simplify the game for Bryce. So put him there. You got speed around him. He can use his legs, that RPO type system. I really do think that that'll get him going. So I do think he needs to get out of Carolina.
Him to Miami, which I like that too. But what I like even more if he went to the Rams. Matthew Stafford don't have that much longer.
There you go.
And you have a coach in Sean McVay that I think can fix whatever the problem is with Bryce.
He fixed it with Baker. Exactly.
I would love to see him go to the Rams, but like you said, even the Dolphins, because Mike McDaniel's from the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree. So for him to be in one of them offenses, I think he can succeed because a lot of quarterbacks succeed in those offenses. And just one more thing, food for thought. Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield was both at Carolina last year. At some point, they look bad. One goes to Minnesota, one goes to Tampa Bay. Why they look good right now? And this Carolina offense, the only difference is now that you added Deontay Johnson and drafted Xavier. Deontay Johnson, to me, he can be a #1, but he's not an elite #1. So this is not a guy you put in and say he can make quarterbacks better. I don't agree with that. I don't think he is. So that's the only difference between this year and last year. And look at how those two quarterbacks looked last year, and now look how they look with Minnesota, where he has Justin Jefferson, and then and also Kevin O'Connell, who's from Sean McVay's coaching tree, and then in Tampa Bay you got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. So hey, I think that I don't think he's a bust, and I think he should move on. He should go to one of those two teams. Let's go down to Pittsburgh, a place we know so well. All right, 2-time Super Bowl champion and future Hall of Famer Ben Roethlisberger came out and said that he believes that the Steelers should stick with Justin Fields even when Russ is 100% healthy. Basically, he has the team going right now, so why make the change? All right. So, Jerrick, I'm gonna ask you: when Russ is 100% healthy, whether it's this week or next week, do you think the Steelers should keep Fields in or start Russ?
If Russ is 100% healthy this week, I would give it a go because he earned that right of being the starting quarterback out of training camp. But if he's not ready this week, then you gotta stick with Fields. If you look at it, that first week, the offense, first of all, much improvement from last year to this year. The offense, moving the ball down the field, getting in field goal range. Yes, we kicked 6 field goals, but we had to get in field goal range somehow. And we did that. We moved the ball down the field. Week 2, we were able to it looked a little bit better, like for the first half, especially second half was a lot of clock management. And I just think that we got kind of fatigued and just a little complacent. But if you really look at it, it got better. We scored a touchdown. So there's team chemistry going. The chemistry is getting there. The team's gelling. Because mind you, it's not a situation where Russ was here. He's the team's veteran. They're both first year quarterbacks to a new system in general. So it's a whole new thing. And so if Russ had been here, then yeah, you gotta pay him his dues, pay him his respects, and say you're the starter when you come back because you were the starter before. But they're both new to the team. So this was both of their week ones with the team, and Justin Fields got out there, he got the W. Next week, Russ wasn't ready to go. He got the W. So you can't, and I honestly think it's also a thing for Justin Fields, his mental. If I'm in here and I'm winning football games, let's say week 3, like this upcoming week, they're planning for Justin Fields to be the starter. He goes in there, he beats the Chargers. Then you go next week, week 4, let's say Russ isn't ready, and you win. I've won 4 games with this team. We're gelling. Let's say the offense looks a lot better. Now, let's say if the offense is kicking field goals, barely getting by, then yeah, you can go back with Russ. But if the offense keeps improving and keeps getting better from week to week, Justin Fields goes 4-0. You can't sit Justin Fields down because that honestly might mess with his mental. I'm winning games. What more do you want from me? Because like I said, this was Russ's team after training camp. But this was never Russ's team in general because this is both their first year with the team. So I honestly do think that if Russell Wilson isn't ready to go this week and we come out there and the offense looks smooth and it looks better than it did last week, seeing improvement from week to week, you got to stick with Fields. You got to ride the hot hand. When Fields messes up, and I'm talking about messes up completely, like if we lose a game, you can't bench Fields for that. You can't replace him with Russell Wilson for that. Now, if he throws 4 to 5 interceptions in a game, then yes, you can pull him out. But until that moment comes, if Russell Wilson's not ready for this week, I do think that we got to continue to ride out with Fields. I honestly do.
So you don't think so after being 2-0, you don't think that's enough for Fields to just keep the job right now. You think 3-0 is like, okay, now you got to keep him in for sure. Is what you're saying. You're saying this week if Russ was ready, they can throw. You're okay with them throwing him in this week.
This week, if Russ is ready, I'm okay with them throwing him in. Yes,
But if
because
Justin Fields won this game this week, then you're saying ride the hot hand.
yes, you have
So
to.
you're saying okay. So you're saying 3 games in is enough for you to ride the hot hand.
Yes, I do because at that point, like I said, now him and his receivers they got chemistry together. Because mind you, Russell Wilson also missed training camp time. He missed time because of that lingering injury. So he never really got to establish a chemistry with his receivers. So now you come off a limited training camp and you missed the first 3 weeks and we throw you in as our starter. I think the chemistry is gonna be down. I think that the timing on the routes with his receivers is gonna be off. I just think there's a lot of things that Fields has established with the receivers and with the offense that you gotta stick with them. I do think that 3 weeks is whenever we get to that point where okay, we're just gonna keep going with Fields and hopefully it works.
All right. Me, a part of the reason why I was so excited for this year is because of Russ. Okay. Once again, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I think the public still has the mindset of 2022 Russ and not 2023 Russ. 2022 Russ was god awful, right?
Arrow.
Bottom barrel. You're right. Last year, Russ was Russ wasn't elite, but he would have been elite with Pittsburgh. If you take them numbers and take Russ and switch him over to Pittsburgh last year, we would have been a problem. right? Because we had the offensive production to go along with the dominant defense that we had. So my mindset going into this year was, okay, we're taking last year's Russ. I'm assuming he's not going to get worse. He's going to get better, right? Because he's bounced back from the 2022. So I'm assuming coming here, we're going to get the same numbers. At worst, the same numbers, which is way better than what Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, and Mitch Trubisky gave us. So with that, and we see how elite this defense is now. We added Dante Jackson in that trade with Deontay Johnson. And he's held his own. And he's looked really good out there. The secondary looks way better. Deshaun Elliott back there is safety. Looks like he has a nose for the ball. Patrick Queen in the middle, right? Peyton Wilson in the middle. The defense looks elite. Better than last year. And then Joey Porter, year 2 leap, right? He's looked great so far. And Corey Trice, I can go on and on and on, but his defense is nice, all right? Now, I'm super pumped to see Russ because if we can get those last year's numbers with this defense, I'm telling you, I can't see a lot of teams that can beat us. I just can't. And the only thing is about Justin Fields, I like what I've seen because the offense has looked better. Like you said, this year and last year is night and day. Because although we're not scoring, that's what everybody's focused on. Everybody's saying they ain't scoring no touchdowns in Pittsburgh. Like the same thing to me. It's the way we're moving the ball. It's the way that we're continuing drives. Last year, there would be a span, like 3 drives straight, and we go 3 and out. 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. And the defense is tired, right? Now this year, we're giving the defense rest. This year, we're moving the ball. We're getting in field goal range. We just scored last week, right? The offense just feels different. Because last year, honestly, I didn't like watching the offense. I was like, bro, go ahead and punt the ball because I already know you're going to do it. Let me watch the defense. That's how bad it was last year. But with Russ, well, with Justin Fields this year, we've been moving the ball. We've been extending our drives. He's been making the easy throws. My only thing is with Russ, Russ has those veteran intangibles that Justin Fields don't have. And I believe that can make this offense look a little better. Because Justin Fields is still growing, in my opinion. I think what happened in Chicago was a roller coaster. Like we saw him look really good sometimes, saw him look really bad. Really good, really bad. It was so inconsistent. So to me, he's still growing. With Russ, we're getting that veteran with those intangibles that Justin Fields don't have that I think can take this offense to the next level. Now, Justin, let's say we didn't have Russ, right? And Justin Fields would stay in and play the rest of the year, the offense would get better, right? I'm not saying it wouldn't get better, but I think that Russ right now with this offense is going to automatically take it to the next step because he going to see things that Justin Fields don't see. He going to make adjustments that Justin Fields might not be making, right? And if you remember when Arthur Smith was in Tennessee, he revived Ryan Tannehill's career. To me, Ryan Tannehill is more so like Russell Wilson, in my opinion, than Justin Fields. Right. So I just think that our offense gets the advantage when you have a veteran like Russ in there versus Justin Fields, who's still growing. We're winning games with him. It's not a problem, but I just think the offense will upgrade with Russ versus with Justin Fields.
Okay, but okay. So one last thing before we move on, what is the cap for Russell Wilson's? Like, what's the longest amount that you would give him to come back? Because mind you, a lot of people say we have a such hard schedule. We've broken down why we don't think our schedule is so hard, but it does get tougher than what we've played, and it's going to get tougher.
100%, yes.
When because like I said, I think that regardless, I think that it might be a little slow when Russ returns. Not saying it's gonna look bad, but it might look like week 1.
He just got to get the rust off, and he got
Yeah.
to.
So at what point? Because mind you, I don't think Cincinnati and Baltimore are gonna be bad the whole season. I don't. Cleveland, they're gonna fall off. They're gonna be Cleveland, but it's still gonna be a tight race for the division. So at what point can Russ come back? And if we drop 1 or 2 games because he's just got to knock that rust off, what point will you say, okay, we just got to stay with Fields? Because if we do drop those 2 games, we can't afford that if we want to win the division. What's the week that you say he has to be back by?
I'm glad you said that because this is why I want him back ASAP. Like
Yeah,
if
of
he's
course, you want
ready
him.
to go
Of
right
course.
now, I want him back. And in my mind, whenever he's ready to come back, he got to come back. Like and the thing about the rust. So to answer your question, I want him to come back ASAP, like this week, if he can.
Yes.
But to answer your question, whenever he does come back, I want him to start. And I think that with our defense, we can afford a game where Russ looks rusty. Well, Russ don't look like he's not fully comfortable yet because he's played the offense during training camp and during practices, but he hasn't played in the offense with game speed, right? With other guys trying to come knock his head off. He hasn't played in that environment yet. So because our defense is so elite and so good this year, every time you play any team that plays Pittsburgh, you're not going to run the score up. It's not going to happen. So if everybody's saying the Steelers can't score, so when they go against teams that can score, teams are not going to be able to score on us. It's going to look like it did the past 2 weeks. Every team that comes into Pittsburgh or wherever we go, the game is going to be slow. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be low scoring. Like that's just how it's going to be because of our defense. So Russ, to me, he can afford to start off slow because we'll still drag out a couple wins. Like to me, Justin Fields looked rusty in the first game, but we still was able to get points on the board, right? So with Russ, I think Russ is going to look rusty when he come back. Not saying he about to come back and light the league on fire, but because of our defense, I think we can afford for him to start slow. And like you said, I want him to come back as soon as possible. So this week, please come back. If not, I'm cool with Fields. I'm just saying I think Russ um gives us that extra that we might need.
So you're okay with week? So let's say just for example, week 10 against Baltimore. It's the first. I mean, yeah, this a little exaggerative because Russ has been like a late week scratch. So
Yeah.
yeah, exaggerative. He might be like worst case scenario maybe week 6. But let's just say for some reason it's week 10. Let's just drag it out. Make it bigger than it is. Week 10, Baltimore, first game back. Do you play Russell Wilson?
At that point, if we're doing really, really good, then no. Because at that point, I'm also expecting Justin Fields to grow and
Mm,
for the offense to look better. So the offense looking way better and Justin Fields is growing, then of course you can't just throw Russ out there in week 10. But like you said, he's been a late scratch. So I'm assuming worst case scenario, week 4 is what I'm assuming.
week 4 or 5. That's what I'm thinking. Worst
I'm
case.
assuming week 4. And I think that yeah, like you said, if it's week 10, of course, keep Fields. That's over half the season. Keep him in there, let him play. But I want Russ back ASAP. And it's not because I want to get rid of Fields. I like what I'm seeing from Fields, and also his legs give us a lot, right? I just want to see Russ because he's the reason why I was so excited for this year. Mind you, we got Russ first, then we got just
Yeah.
Fields. So I think Russ is. I want to see Russ in this offense. Right. But now let's go right down the street. Let's go to Philly, to the Eagles, who you and me had high hopes for this year. It's early, right? 1-1 is not a bad start. It's way better than 0-2. But it, it made me scratch my head a little bit from what I'm seeing from the Eagles. All right. So I want you to just go ahead and tell me, are you worried about the Eagles?
I have two answers for this. So like just broad terms, no, I'm not worried. In broad terms, I'm not worried. But in terms of our expectation for them to be that Super Bowl contending team, I'm worried. I will say that I'm worried in terms of that. Like in broad terms, they can still win their division. I'm not worried about that at all. They can still because mind you, it's early. You lost AJ Brown, and he's a big part of your offense. Yes, you still have Saquon Barkley, but AJ Brown's a big part of your offense, a really big part of your offense. He makes the game just easier for Jalen Hurts. He just does. And so for you to lose AJ Brown for a couple of weeks, I think that's gonna hurt, but it's also gonna help because now you get to see what else you get to work with. You get to see more of Jahan Dotson. You get to see Devontae Smith take on a bigger role. I'm not worried about them. I'm really not. I know people are scratching their head at Jalen Hurts and how he's been playing recently and how it doesn't look like it looked back when they went to the Super Bowl. I understand that. I get that. The defense isn't looking like how it looked. You lost Hassan Reddick. You lost Fletcher Cox over the year due to age. Like it doesn't look. The defense doesn't look scary anymore. Like that year they went to the Super Bowl, people feared that defense. That pass rush was disgusting. And that pass rush, and we thought that secondary was disgusting as well, but it turned out the pass rush is what made the secondary disgusting. Whenever teams started blocking, now you got to see that the secondary wasn't that good. Now you see that's why people was cooking James Bradbury and all that. But you got you drafted Quinion Mitchell. That's his name. I don't pronounce it wrong. Yeah,
Yeah.
you drafted Cooper DeJean. They're young. They're rookies. They're gonna get more incorporated into the team, into the defensive scheme. And so I think that it's too early for a team like the Eagles to count them out. Because look at what they did in the beginning of last year. Everybody said, "Oh, this their revenge season. This their revenge season," and they came out those first 6 to 7 weeks looking like they was gonna come back and get the job done this time. And then they hit that wall. Then once they specifically whenever they played San Francisco came in there with the chip on their shoulder, and they just ran them out of their own stadium. And that was the downfall of the Eagles last year. This year, to be the Eagles, to know the division that you're in, you're okay. It's okay to go through a couple growing pains right now. It's okay. Everybody thinks because they are one of the big teams in the NFC, they're not supposed to struggle. Even the Chiefs, they don't look like perfect right now. They don't look like the Chiefs right now at all. They really, we could be having this conversation. Are we worried about the Chiefs? But we're not, because they've won both of their games. They were in 2 close games. Had the Chiefs started off 0-2, we would be having the same conversation right now about the Chiefs. And you know how much I rock with Patrick Mahomes, but it has not looked like how the Chiefs normally look. So just because they lost to the Falcons, now mind you, the Falcons are going to be one of those teams that are gonna knock somebody out in the playoffs that you weren't expecting. If they do make it, because you know that NFC South, whoever wins that division is gonna get that spot. But like, it's this year, if you look at all of the games, it's so different. There's no team besides maybe the Panthers and the Giants that you're saying you're gonna come in there and you're just gonna wax them. You're just gonna completely wax them. Literally, this is a any given Sunday type season. Any given Sunday, the team that you're playing can come out there and they can beat you. Any given Sunday. We saw the Raiders beat the Ravens. People aren't too worried about the Ravens. If anything, I feel like this topic should be, are we worried about the Ravens more than are we worried about the Eagles? Just because it's early in the season, they played a tough Falcons team. Like we saw, the Falcons looked bad week 1 because of our defense.
100% agree.
Because of our defense. The pressure that people said that Kirk Cousins was watching, he didn't have no more after week 1. He was coming off of an Achilles injury, and every single snap, we was back there in his lap. I'm talking about, there's replays. You can go pull up clips. When he's about to throw the ball, he's closing his eyes because he's about to get his head knocked off because of the pressure that we were getting back there. And that, especially week 1 coming off of Achilles injury, that can rattle his mind. And I really feel like we just rattled his confidence early on, and that was able to get the job done. Week 2, you go against the Eagles defense. Mind you, the Eagles, their defense is starting to get into that conversation. They're starting to take a step back. We used to think they were one of the tier 1 defenses. I don't consider them a tier 1 defense anymore. They're good defense, but they're not tier 1 to me. So whenever we saw Kirk Cousins play them, it was completely different, especially that last drive. If you looked at that last drive, I told you, we was watching the highlights of that last drive the other night, and I said no pressure, no pressure, no pressure. And on the bottom of the screen, it came up. I think it said 5 out of 6 or 6 out of 6 of those
No,
plays.
all six throws.
Those plays was unpressured, completely. Now, mind you, yes, that's because they were cushioning, dropping probably 8 to 7, not really playing real defense. I said, what are they doing? They were in a zone, giving up the sidelines. Like it just looked bad. But it's a completely difference, as you can see. So that win, that game, I give more credit to the Falcons for winning than I take away credit from the Eagles for losing. The Falcons are going to be a good team. That is what we saw. So for people to be worried about the Eagles, I'm not too worried about it. I'm not. Now, is it lowering my expectations from being a Super Bowl contender? It is. I'll admit it. I have them now. I'm thinking they're gonna be in a tough wild card round matchup. They're gonna get the job done, and then they might lose division rounds like a Green Bay or a San Francisco if they have to play them. But I'm not too worried. They're gonna get AJ Brown back. Their offense is gonna get flowing with Saquon Barkley, and they're gonna look much better. The defense can hopefully get it together. So I'm not worried about the Eagles at all.
All right, so I'm not worried, but I am not confident either. I think that what I saw Monday night was an indictment on Nick Sirianni. And, I know, we rock with Nick Sirianni because we think he part of the mafia and all that stuff, but he's already on the hot seat because what happened last year, right? You got too much talent to lose in the wild card round. Not only that, but to look like y'all did last year. And then on Monday, you had 2-0 in the bag, right? But at the end of the game, you made a questionable decision. Now everybody's gonna say, "Ooh, Saquon should have caught the ball. Saquon should have caught the ball." But in reality, you should have just ran the ball. The Eagles had 186 rushing yards and had averaged 5 yards a carry, and it was what, 3rd and 3. All you have to do is run the football, and worst case scenario is 4th and 1, 4th and inches, or worst case scenario they stuff it. Regardless, then you let the game clock run down. You let the game clock run down 40 seconds, and now you're looking at a minute with Atlanta Falcons having the ball, having drive down the field in a minute versus having almost 2 minutes to drive down the field. You know what I'm saying? That decision cost them that game, and that decision came from a coach that was already in question this year. And it also throughout the game yesterday, I'm looking at Kellen Moore and I'm like, dude, you came here to make Jalen Hurts to revive Jalen Hurts, right? To give us 2022 Jalen Hurts. Why so many times that offense looks off script? Like Jalen Hurts dropped back and he starts scrambling. It's not said Hunt, quick slant is there, get 5 yards. Or it's not a Hunt pump fake, get to the next. It looks so much off script. It looks like Kellen Moore is not drawing up the right plays to make Jalen Hurts successful. And then Jalen Hurts, he makes you scratch your head so much. In that first game, he threw that first interception. What'd you tell me? You said, what is he doing? What is he doing against Green Bay, right? That terrible interception across the middle of the field. And then, mind you, threw 2 interceptions in that game. And then in this game, y'all messed up. They went down and scored. By the way, the defense looked horrendous on that last drive. And then Jalen Hurts, you get the ball back, put the cape on, go score, right? The second play of the drive, you drop back, and it wasn't open. Like, I don't care what you said in the media. I tried to make a play. No, it wasn't open. He threw it right to the man. I don't. He makes me scratch my head because he'll make a great play. Like I showed you that on that 4th down when he ran like 30 yards. He'll make a great play and he finished that drive with the score. He plays in spurts. Like he look good, and then he'll make you like scratch your head, like, bro, what are you doing? So that's why I'm worried. And without AJ Brown, that offense is now average. Because you don't have that elite receiver out there. It's average now. I think you have look, watch this. You have Saquon Barkley, right? And you have Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith to me is not. Remember, we talked about Deontay Johnson about being an elite number one. Devontae Smith is not an elite number one. He can be a number one, but he's not an elite number one. Like Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson can be a number one, but he can't be an elite number one.
I don't think you can compare them. I don't.
Why not? It's the same player, honestly. They're both great route runners. What's the difference?
Devontae Smith over Deontay Johnson. He showed last night that you give him that number one spot, he can be a dog. He showed that. He showed that Monday night.
But the offense did not look like it does with AJ Brown.
It's just because they're different types. Like you said, he's a route. Devontae Smith's a route technician. AJ Brown is a put the ball up here, my hands up, I'm going to get it.
Yes, and when you have a route technician in Devontae Smith, and you have a guy like AJ Brown, this offense is out of this world. How do you stop it? But what I'm saying is, okay, I take that back. It's not average, but they're back. They back down to mid level, not mid level, but they're back down to earth. How about that?
They're not like top 5 or anything anymore.
They're back down to earth. It's not an offense that I look like and I look at it and I say, oh, that's so difficult to defend. Now they're back down to earth. So I'll take that back. Not average, but they're back down to earth. And he's gonna be out for, he said, a couple weeks. First of all, I never seen a player give out his own injury report, but he out for a couple weeks. So am I worried? Yeah, a little bit. Just a little bit. But I'm more so not confident than I am worried. I just think that you just dropped the game that should have been in your hands. You should be 2-0 right now. And you dropped it from self-inflicted wounds. And like Jalen Hurts, every now and then he makes you scratch my head, and his defense, like you alluded to, is not the same. They don't get the same pass rush. The secondary is still cookable. And we saw that at the end of the game. Kirk Cousins just literally walked down the field. I was watching the game with Tyrell. I said, Tyrell, you about to go score. And literally every single play was chunk plays down the field. Then your boy Darius Slay got embarrassed on national television.
Play Slay.
Guys, yeah, big play Slay. Okay. All right. But yeah, like I said, not worried, but I'm definitely not confident like I was going into the year. Anything else you got?
Nope, you hit the nail on the head. Definitely not worried, but they've come down a notch in terms of that Super Bowl contenders. They're not up there no more. At least not right
now. Until proven, yeah, they can go out there and prove us wrong. But
of course, just week
and
2,
I know, and
too. But yeah.
Yeah, it's early in the season. It's very early in the season, so I don't want people thinking that we're overreacting. But let's just think about it like this. Last year, Jalen Hurts was bottom 3 interceptions. This year, he's already bottom 3 interceptions. All right, so he got to turn the ball over, period. That, and like I said, the head scratching plays is a problem. All right, but that is it for the Straight to the Point podcast. All right, y'all gonna see me again on Saturday do my week 3 picks. So week 3 is already here, and I'll also recap tomorrow's Thursday night matchup between the Jets and the Patriots. And y'all see Jerrick again next week, so we can talk about and recap week 3. All right, but we out.